Grand welcome to all my dear student. Hello everyone. In this video, we are dealing with a ninth chapter, that is the life process in animal of grade 7 from the NCERT. Let us move towards our chapter without wasting time. If your food is fully digested before you eat again, you won't need a medicine for the pain. It is a correct, that is here said that अगर आपका खाना is fully digested before you eat again, अगर आप if you want to take a uh, lunch and if your breakfast is fully digested, then you won't need any medicine for the pain. If your food is digested well, then you doesn't need to take any medicine for make it digested. In a grade 6 a science textbook, it is the curiosity chapter whose name is a living creature exploring their characteristics. The name of the chapter is a living creature exploring their characteristics. We learn about processes essential, which processes are the essential for a survival of the living beings, like the nutrition, respiration, excretion, and the reproduction. These are the essential processes which are the essential. In this chapter, we will learn about the life process such as the nutrition and the respiration in detail. We are only dealing with the nutrition and the respiration. So let's move ahead. Observe your surrounding and notice what animal eat different types of food. Sorry. Bees and the sunbirds, while the infants of humans and the many other animals feed on their mother's milk. We have already observed here that the baby cow was feeding her mother cow. The human and the other animals feed on their mother's milk. A snake and a python swallow animals that prey upon एनिमल्स दे प्री अपॉन, जो इनके लिए प्रे होता है वो इनको स्वॉलो कर लेते हैं. द सम aquatic animals filter a tiny food particles floating nearby and feed upon them. Some of the aquatic animals जो क्या करते filter a tiny food particles floating nearby and feed upon them. The animals including the human beings obtain the energy from the food, obviously which enables them to carry out various life processes. To carry out different life processes, we need energy, and we enable them to carry out various life processes. Animals consumes a food that contain a complex component. Animal consumes a food that contains the complex component such as the carbohydrate, protein, fat. Carbohydrate and proteins are the complex elements. You have to remember the given here is that these complex food components have to be broken. इन्हें हमें ब्रोक करना पड़ेगा, broken into a simpler form. You have to broken up this complex compound into a simple form before you can use them. But how does this process happen? किस तरह से ये process होती है? Let's investigate and do how it is happens. Breaking down of a complex food component into the simpler occurs in a long tube called as the alimentary canal. This process starts in the mouth and ends at the anus. As the food moves through this canal, the digestive juice secreted by the different parts break it down into a simpler form. As food moves, जैसे जैसे food move करता है, from this digestive system starts from a mouth and end with the anus, then it moves from this esophagus, then to the stomach, then to the duodenum to the small intestine, to then large intestine, and it will be stored for some time for in a rectum, and then moves out and excreted out through the anus. These simpler forms of food is absorbed by the different part of our alimentary canal and transported to the various parts of our body to carry out the various function. As we know that the food contains a various amount of energy, and this form of these food particles get converted into a simpler forms, and the simpler form is absorbed by the different part of alimentary canal, and we will dealing with which part of this alimentary canal will absorb the simpler forms of food and our alimentary canal and transport it to the various parts. And the nutrition in an animal, what nutrition the animal get from these complex food components. How do the complex food component, you have to focus on this complex food component which will get converted into a simpler form, which will get broken down get broken down into simpler forms and used by the body in various animals. Is this process the same in all animals or does it vary? This process of taking a nutrition and the breaking down of this complex compound into a simpler form is the same in the various animals. If it is yes, then explain it how it is the same, and if it is a no, then explain how and the which are the different processes in the different animals. Obviously the answer to this question is a no. The process of a breaking down of this complex compound into the simpler form is vary from the animals to the animals, and we will dealing and in the next session, in this next session of this chapter. Let us first try to understand this process in the human. We are the humans and we are more curious about ourselves, and so we are trying to understand the process in the human beings first. डाइजेशन इन अ ह्यूमन बींग्स में डाइजेशन किस तरह से होता है. लेट अस ट्रेस द जर्नी ऑफ फूड इनसाइड योर बॉडी. इट पासिस थ्रू द डिफरेंट पार्ट्स ऑफ एलिमेंट्री कैनाल. हमें उन्हें ट्रेस करना है of journey of the food, इस food की journey को as it passes to the different parts of our body, as it passes to the esophagus, as it passes to the stomach, as it passes to the duodenum, as it passes to the small intestine and then goes into the large intestine and then is stored in a rectum. Begin with your mouth cavity. Mouth cavity से start करेंगे. The journey of your food you get begins when it enters your mouth. Begins होते हैं as it enters your mouth. Your teeth break down the food you ate into simpler pieces. This is by the process called as the crushing and the chewing. This process of initial breakdown of a food into the fine pieces is called a mechanical digestion. The chewing of a food is also called as a mechanical digestion. Think about your favorite food. Does your mouth feel watery? Yes, because of the more saliva that gets released when you recall your favorite food. When you recall your favorite food, what do you think is the role of a saliva in your mouth? Saliva का क्या काम होता है? What do you feel when you ate other type of food such as the chapati? Let us find out. Take a small piece of a chapati. Chapati का एक small piece लेना है. Bite size portion of the boiled rice and chew it properly for the 30 seconds. एक चपाती का टुकड़ा लेना है and then a bite size portion of the boiled rice. Boiled rice का a bite size portion लेके उसे भी chew करना है and chew it properly for the 30 second के लिए chew करो. At a first, the chapati or the rice has its usual taste. It has a usual taste initially at a first, but as you continue chewing, जैसे जैसे आप chewing continue करते हैं, you notice a change in the taste. There is the taste of this both the rice and chapati gets changed. How is it? The food begins the taste sweet. The food begins the taste sweet. Have you ever wonder why this happened? Because the chapati rice contain a starch which is a type of a carbohydrate. All starches are the carbohydrate, but all carbohydrate are not a starches. What is the meaning of this sentence and why it is said in our NCRT? I will explain you about this statement and how is it is said in the NCRT. You know about what is the carbohydrate, what is the fat, what is the protein, what is a vitamin, what is the minerals. These are the different types of nutrient in your food that are present in your food. The carbohydrates the carb are of a three types, that is the starch, fiber and the sugar portion. So we can say that all the starches are the carbohydrate, but all the carbohydrate are not starches because some carbohydrates are fiber and some are of the sugar. So all the carbohydrates are not the starches, but we can say that all starches are the carbohydrate. Substrate. Our saliva contains a digestive juice that helps break down a starch into a sugar. This explains why the starchy food like chapati tastes sweet when you chew it for a long time. Saliva helps to break down components of food into the simpler one. The complex components will get converted into a simple ones. Science and society. A healthy mouth requires a good oral hygiene. You should brush your teeth and clean our tongue twice a day and rinse your mouth with water after each meal to prevent a tooth decay and bad smell in a mouth. Find out a way your elder will maintain the oral health. I had written here the herbal remedies and a natural ingredient. The first one is. Second one is using the twigs from the specific tree such as the neem tree. Nowadays we In our town, we also use the twigs of a neem tree to brush our teeth. It is one of the effective medicine. They use specific herbs to reach their mouth after the meal. Specific herbs, which are Ayurvedic herbs, which are being used to reach their mouth after the meal. Let us investigate. This is one of my favorite activity. Let us take two test tube and take them as A and the B. Take a small tablespoon of boiled rice in a test tube A and a tablespoon of boiled rice after the chewing in a 30 to 60 seconds in the test tube B. Add a 2 to 3 ml of water both of the test tube. Note the initial color of the rice water mixed in a table had a 3 to 4 drops of iodine solution each of test tube. With a help of a dropper, mix the content of each test tube separately and observe it. Record your observation in the table 9.1. Test tube, boiled rice chewed, and the boiled rice initial color before adding the iodine, final color after adding the iodine, and the possible reason for the change in the color. You observe the color of the boiled rice turns blue black in a test tube A, while the test tube B, the chewed boiled rice either did not change color to turn only very light blue black color. What causes the change in the color of a test tube A? The grade 6 we learned that the iodine gives a blue black when it reacts with a starch. Test tube A, the appearance of a blue-black color indicates the presence of the starch. Test tube B, which contains a chewed boiled rice, there is no change in the color. It indicates that the starch no longer present in. If there any slight change in the color, indicates that the starch present only a very small amount. It has been broken down into the simpler sugar by the action of the saliva. If you still appear a test tube B, what change would you make activity to explore it further? Would the color change if chewing time is increased? Try to find out repeating the activity. Now we know a saliva secreted in a mouth helps break down a starch into the sugar. This process of breaking a complex food component into a simpler forms in the body is called a digestion. The food is partially digested in the mouth. Let us learn how this partially digested food get further digested through the alimentary canal. The partially digested food in a stomach will get further digested through a alimentary canal. The food pipe, which is known as esophagus. Esophagus is also known as a food pipe. A passage from the mouth to the stomach. A passage from the mouth to the stomach. When you chew your food, your saliva is not only helps in digesting the starch but also moisten it, making it soft and easy to swallow. Making it soft and easy to swallow. Moisten and swallow, easy to the swallow. Your tongue helps in mixing the chewed food with the saliva and pushing this softened food into a long flexible tube called as the food pipe or the esophagus. Food pipe or the esophagus. But how does the food moves down? Let us investigate. The wall of your food pipe gently contract and relax. It will get contracts, relax, contracts, relax, contract, relax in a wave-like motion. You all know what is the wave-like motion. The motion like this. This is a wave-like motion. Wave-like motion. Push the food down into the stomach. This movement takes place throughout the alimentary canal and pushes the food forward. Stomach. In a stomach, the wall contract and relax the food. The churned food is then mixed with the secretion from the inner lining of the stomach. The secretion from the stomach contains the digestive juice, acid, and the mucus. Digestive juice, acid, and the mucus. Let us investigate what is the role of this acid, mucus, and the digestive juice. The diagram is shown here how the food particle is moves down the site of a contraction. The food particle, this is the esophagus, and here the stomach. The food particle is goes downward. The site of a relaxation, site of a contraction, यहाँ पे contraction होगा, तो the site of this relaxation, the food particles get moves downward as it passes through this esophagus. This portion is get contract, this will get relaxed. This portion will get a contract, this will get relaxed. The movement of food particle in the food pipe. This is the shape of our stomach. This is a stomach. This is the pipe of esophagus or the food pipe. This is our stomach, where it is our the stomach wall. You notice that there are the different layers of the stomach. Let us investigate more about this stomach lining. Digestive juice and the acid and the mucus get secreted in this portion. The digestive juice of a stomach break down a protein. The role of a digestive juice is given here. The breakdown the protein present in a food into a simpler component. The acid not only helps to break down a protein but also kills many harmful bacteria. The mucus protect harmful bacteria को kill करते हैं. The mucus protect. The role of the mucus. The role of acid and the role of mucus is here. The mucus protect the small stomach lining from the acid. जो acid secrete हुआ है उसे prevent करने के लिए and preventing the damage preventing the damage in a stomach. The food is partially digested and transported into the semi-solid mass, preparing it for a next stage of the digestion. Of the digestion. The fascinating fact that is the how did the scientists learn about the digestion in the human beings? The discovery of the how the stomach works happens by chance. You will be get surprised about knowing about this fact. Let us move forward. The discovery of how the stomach work happened by the chance in the 1822. A man named that is the Alexis Martin was accidentally shot in the stomach. He was treated by a doctor, the William Beaumont. However, this food never fully healed, leaving a small permanent hole. This opening allowed a doctor Beaumont to observe the digestion in the stomach as it happens. He concluded experiment on how a different food were broken down and studied how the emotions affect the digestion. You know that the emotions also affect the digestion. Small intestine. After its journey to the stomach, the partially digested food moves into a small intestine. Look at the figure 9.1. A stomach. A sketch of a stage out alimentary canal. Stomach stage out alimentary canal. Gauge how long it is. You will be surprised that it is called as the small intestine. This is a small intestine and it is almost a 6 meter long, almost twice the height of your classroom. You will be surprised to know that the small intestine is the longest part of your alimentary canal. A small intestine receive the digestive secretion from three sources: the inner lining of a small intestine itself and two more structures associated with a alimentary canal, the liver and the pancreas. Student, I will request you to focus on the more highlighted point from this video and you have to note down this point. The more structure associated with alimentary canal, that is the liver and the pancreas. Liver secrete the bile, which is mildly basic in nature. Recall the neutralization reaction in the chapter the exploring substance: acids, acidic, basic, and the neutral. The bile neutralize the acids present in the food moving down from the stomach. As we know that the food in a stomach having a more amount of acid, while this acid becomes a neutralized acid get neutralized because of this this mildly basic nature bile, which will get mixed with the acid and get neutralized, moves down from the stomach and breaks down the fat into tiny droplets, making it a digestion easier. Alimentary canal and it's stretched out. This is a large intestine and this is a small intestine and this is a large intestine. Pancreas secrete pancreatic juice, which is basic in nature and helps easy neutralize the acid present in the food. Additionally, the pancreatic juice also break down the carbohydrate, proteins, and the fats. A digestive juice secreted by the walls of a small intestine further break down the fat, proteins, and the partially digested carbohydrate into the simpler forms. Digested nutrient passes on from a small intestine into a blood present in the food vessels found in a walls of a small intestine. The digested nutrient passes a small intestine into a blood present in the blood vessels found in a walls of the small intestine. This process is called as the absorption of a nutrient. How are the nutrient absorbed from a small intestine? Let us investigate. The inner lining of a small intestine is thin and has thousands of finger-like projections that increases the surface area. Efficient nutrient absorption. These finger-like projections present in a small intestine. These finger-like projections allow the digested nutrient to pass into the blood, which carries them into different parts of our body. These nutrients provide the energy, supports the growth, repair, help the body function properly. Science and society. A celiac disease is a condition in which a body react to a gluten found in a wheat. It is a type of protein which is found in a wheat, barley, and the rye. This reaction damage the inner lining of a small intestine where nutrients are absorbed. As a result, intestine cannot function properly. The only way to manage celiac disease is to avoid a food that contains a gluten. The millets like jawar, bajra, and ragi are a good alternative because they are naturally gluten free. They are the naturally gluten free. Which components are naturally gluten free are the jawar, bajra, and the ragi. Large intestine, a small after most of the nutrients are digested and absorbed in a small intestine. What happened to the undigested food? It moves into a large intestine. The large intestine about a 1.5 meter in length, shorter than the small intestine. Then why it is called the large intestine? The reason is that it is a wider than why it is called large intestine. The reason is that the wider than a small intestine, the large intestine absorbs the water and the some of the salt from the undigested food, thus making the waste semi-solid. This semi-solid waste is called the stool. The stool is a food stored in a lower part of a large intestine called as the rectum until the body gets ready to get rid of it. Eating a fiber-rich food like the fruit, vegetables, whole grains help the large intestine function properly by making a stool easier to pass. Finally, it is expelled through the anus, a process called as the egestion. This is how our body removes the waste it does not need, keeping you healthy. Isn't fascinating how the digestive system work, absorbing nutrient from the food and the alimentary canal? Yes, it is a very surprising, fascinating, fascinating fact that a large intestine contain a various small living organisms. A various small living organisms such as bacteria they help in a digestion. They help in keeping your digestive system healthy. They break down undigested food, especially that is the fiber, produce essential nutrient. The fiber rich food, especially a fermented food like the fiber rich food, and especially the fermented food like the curd, buttermilk, srikhanda, kanji, pickle, gunjang, gundrak, and the poita bhat are the good for a healthy digestive system and the overall well-being. I think you will know about the curd, buttermilk, Srikhand, but the kanji, South Indian drink, and gunjak. Gunjak is a traditional Nepali dish made by fermentation of dried leafy vegetables. What is a poita bhat? Poita bhat is a overnight fermented rice that served with a curry and the so on. Science and society. The importance of digestion in maintaining a good health has been recognized for the century. The Charak Samhita, an ancient Ayurvedic text, highlights the role of easy digestion food and a judicious use of spices like the ginger, black pepper, and the cumin to enhance your digestion. Which component and which are the spices that will be help and enhance the digestion, like ginger, black pepper, and the cumin. Advance in a science in the area of nutrition also emphasize eating meals at a proper timing, practicing a mindful eating and avoiding overeating as key factors in maintaining a digestive health. How digest the food the same way as human do. Can I have seen a cow keeping chewing the food even when they not actively grazing or eating anything. This is why the digestive system of a ruminant. The digestive system of a ruminant. This is a cow. This is the esophagus. This is a pancreas. This is a small intestine, and this is a rumen. A grass eating cow animals such as the cow and the buffalo partially chew the grass and swallow it their stomach. In a stomach, the partial digestion of a food takes place. The partially digested food is brought back to the mouth for a gradual chewing. This process is called as the rumination, and the animals are called as the ruminants. The cow spend about the 8 hours in a day just chewing the food. The chewed food again the chewed food the chewed food again passes through the alimentary canal and the further digestion. This is the digestive system of the bird, where this is an esophagus, this is an stomach, this is an gizzard, and this is an intestine. The most important point is the gizzard. The gizzard is present in a birds while the rumen is present in the cow. The birds do not have a teeth, but they have a chamber called as the gizzard. They do not have a teeth but have a chamber called as the gizzard. The food is broken down in by the contraction and the relaxation of the wall of the gizzard, often with the help of the grid, a small stone that the bird swallows. This This shows that the animal exhibit the variation in the structure and the function of alimentary canal to adapt the different ways of digesting a different kind of this food. We have learned We have learned that the nutrients from digestive foods are carried to the different parts of our body. Some of the nutrients help to build and repair the body, while the other, like the sugar, are the broken down inside the body and they release the energy. This process of the nutrients are converted into the usable energy is called as the respiration. You will find the difference between the breathing and the respiration. The process explore this process occurring in the animals. Respiration in animals. We learned grade 6 we learn in the grade 6 chapter the living creature exploring their characteristics that all the living beings respire. The process of respiration is the same in the all the animals. Let us understand the process of respiration in the human beings. The obvious answer of this question is a no. Respiration in a humans, you know that the breathe inhale and breathe out exhale continuously to obtain air, continuously to obtain oxygen and release carbon dioxide. How is this oxygen used in the body? Let us investigate. You breathe and respire different. Let us find out how do we breathe. The process of inhaling and exhaling the air called as the breathing. It is difficult to live without the food, for the weak without the water, for a or a two, but without breathing we usually cannot survive more than a few minutes. Why is that? All of us alive because we breathe, not just a human, plant and other animals also breathe. But how do we breathe? Just a food just as a food follow a specific pathway in digestive systems, our body also have a specific system for the breathing and the respiration. This system is called the respiratory system. The respiratory system is consist of various parts as shown in the figure 9.8. This is the systems. The exchange of gases follow a specific pathway. The pathway through which the air inhale and the exhale involves various parts of respiratory systems assisting the process of breathing and the respiration. A respiratory system begins with a pair of open nasal opening called as the nostrils, through which inhalation and exhale air. The inhale air passes into a pair of a small passage called as the nasal passage. Have you noticed a tiny hair inside your nostrils? These hairs, along with the mucus, helps trap dust and dirt from air we breathe in. This is why we should breathe through a nose and not through the mouth. From the from the nasal passage, the air reaches your lungs through a windpipe. The windpipe forms two branches which enters into the two lungs. In the lungs, these branches turns divided into the smaller and finer branches that ends in a small balloon-like sac called as the alveoli. Our lungs are protected by the rib cage. Our lungs are protected by the rib cage. This is a human respiratory systems. This is are the nostrils. The air enters into a lungs from these nostrils. This is a windpipe. These are the alveoli. These are the fine branch, and they are terminate as a bag-like structure called as the alveoli. Left lung. This is a left lung. This is a right lung. This is the rib cage, and this is lower part is a diaphragm. Human respiratory system. Science and society. While a lot of dust is filtered out from inhaled air, often a small infection particles can get through the lungs. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, a SARS-CoV-2 viruses affected the respiratory systems, leading the breathing difficulties and often causing a serious lungs problems. This is also one of my favorite experiment. Let us understand the mechanism of breathing by making a simple model. Activity 9.2. Let us make a model. Take a wide transparent plastic bottles with a lid. Remove its bottoms. Make a hole at the lid of the bottle. Take a Y-shaped hollow tube as shown in the figure 9.8. Fix these two deflated balloons to a fork end of the tube. Secure them with a rubber band to make them airtight. Insert a straight end of a tube tightly through the lid from a open base bottle and seal this lid with a clay to make it airtight to a open base of the bottle. Attach a thin rubber sheet tightly using a large rubber band. Pull the rubber sheet from a center of the base downwards and watch the balloon. What do we observe now? Release a rubber sheet upward and observe the balloon. What do you change? Do you see in a balloon? When you pull the rubber sheet downwards, the balloon inflate. Conversely, when you release a rubber sheet upward, the balloon deflate. Air drawn in, the ribs moves outwards, the diaphragm moves downwards. Air is forced out, the ribs moves back, and the diaphragm moves upward. The arrow indicates the movement of a diaphragm and the ribs. When you when you breathe when you breathe or inhale, Your chest expands and the ribs moves up and the outward. The diaphragm is a dome-shaped muscle below the lungs, moves downward during the inhalation. This increases the space inside the chest and the air enters the lungs. When you breathe out, that is the exhale, the ribs moves down and inwards, and the diaphragm moves upward and reducing the space and pushing the air out of the lungs. What do the balloon in the model mentioned in the figure represent? What does the rubber sheet represent? In this model, the balloon represents the lungs while the rubber sheet represents the diaphragm. Science and society. Breathing practices for the healthy life. Breathing exercise been practiced across different cultures in India wide worldwide for a centuries. Pranayama is well known for improving the respiratory health and mind relaxation and the concentration. In Ladakh, people practicing a tumo breathing, a technique that improve your lung function and keep and help keep the body warm even in a cold weather. A similar deep breathing exercise are used to promote a well-being. Some traditional combine deep breathing and chanting using a rhythmic breath control enhance relaxation and a mental clarity. What do we breathe out? What do we breathe out? Let us do activity. Let us explore. To be a demonstrated by a teacher, take a equal amount of a freshly prepared lime water by a two test tube A and B given in a figure 9.11. In test tube A, pass a air using a syringe or a pitchkari. This is the same air that you inhale. A test tube B repeated blow the air through your mouth into a lime water using a straw. Do you observe any change in the color of the lime water? The lime water of test tube B is a turn milky or the cloudy, but the lime water of test tube A does not. What does this indicate? The lime water turns milky. This react with the carbon dioxide. Lime water get in contact with carbon dioxide, it will get milky. Therefore, this indicates that the inhale air contains a more exhale air contains a more carbon dioxide than the air that we inhale. What does the exchange of gases happen? How does the exchange of gases happen? Though the process of breathing fresh air from outside enters the lungs and fill the alveoli have thin wall surrounding by the fine tube containing the blood. The blood carry a carbon dioxide from the body to the alveoli and where it is released into the air. In the same time, the oxygen from the alveoli passes into the blood and it is transported to the all parts of the body. This is an alveoli. This is an alveoli. This is the diagrammatic structure of alveoli where the carbon dioxide and the oxygen with the blood vessels get exchanged. These are the blood vessels. These are the alveoli. Have you ever wondered how the food you ate give you energy? The key, not only the food but also the oxygen we breathe. Let us when we eat a food, your body break it down into the simpler substances like the sugar, that is the glucose, and the oxygen helps to break down the glucose to release the energy. This process is called as the respiration. The word equation of the process of respiration is given below. The glucose plus oxygen will get converted into the carbon dioxide plus water plus energy. During the breathing, we inhale air from our surrounding and exhale air having a more carbon dioxide that the air inhale. The note that not all the oxygen is used up. The some other animals can use the larger fraction of oxygen. The inhale air nearly 21% of oxygen, exhale air nearly 16 to 17% of oxygen, nearly 4 to 5% of carbon dioxide, and nearly 0.4% of carbon dioxide. The air that we inhale is also contains a carbon dioxide, but it is a very small quantity. The air that inhale contains oxygen in a more amount. The air that we exhale also contains oxygen, but it is a less amount as compared to the air that we inhale, and the nearly 4 to 5% of carbon dioxide. During a breathing, we inhale air from our surrounding and exhale air that contains more amount of carbon dioxide than the inhale air. The more that all the oxygen is used up, the some other animals can use a larger fraction of oxygen during the respiration. This exchange of gases ensure that the each segment of your body get oxygen to produce the energy and remove the waste product. In a simple words, the breathing brings in oxygen and remove the carbon dioxide, while the respiration use the oxygen to break down the food and release the energy. This energy helps us walk, run, play, and even think. Breathing is a physical process, while the respiration is a chemical process occur inside the body. Both the process are essential for our survival. Our body is a unique system of a transport of nutrient, oxygen, and the other substances. This system is called as a circulatory system. We are dealing with circulatory systems in our next grade. It includes the heart, blood, and the blood vessels. The heart pumps the blood through the blood vessels, ensuring the transport of nutrient, oxygen, and the food substances to all the part of the body, while the waste product are the carry away. Science and society. The smoking is extremely harmful to the health. It damages the lungs and increase the risk of serious diseases, including the lung cancer and the other respiratory illnesses. It leads a persistent coughing and frequent infections. In addition to the harmful the smoking release the toxic chemicals in the air, putting the others at risk. When a non-smoker inhales this polluted air, they experience a passive smoking. This can essentially danger for the children, pregnant women and the elders. Due to this risk, avoiding a smoking helps protect both a personal health and the well-being of those around us. Do other animals breathe the same way as the human do? You have learned that different animals live in a different habitat. You have observed birds flying and the fish swimming. You How do they breathe? Animals such as the birds, elephant, lions, cows, and goats, the lizard, snake breathe through their lungs. Although all these animals have the lungs, the structure of the lungs is quite different. Most aquatic animals like the fish have a special structures known as the gills. These are the rich supply with the blood vessel. The exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between the blood and the gases involves the water take place across the gills. Elephants, like the frogs, live in both the water and the land. They use different body parts to breathe at various stages in their life. For example, the tadpole, a larva stage of a frog, breathe through the gills, while the adult frog are use lungs for breathing and on the land, and the skin for gas exchange when they stay in the water. This is important. These adaptations help them to survive in both water and on the land, showing how animals have adapted over a time to difficult environment. Earthworms use a moist skin for the exchange of oxygen and the carbon dioxide. This portion is given about the earthworm. Thus, different animals have a different breathing mechanisms to suit their unique habitat. Apart from a digestive system, the respiratory systems and circulatory systems have and there are other systems which work coordinate with each other in the body and perform different functions to sustain the life. You will study about them in the higher grades. In a nutshell, the life process such as nutrition, respiration, circulation, excretion, and reproduction are essential for the survival of the living being. These processes are collectively called as the life processes. The human digestive systems consist of alimentary canal, which includes the mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, anus, and the associated parts, the liver and the pancreas. The digestion food is primarily absorbed through the walls of the small intestine. The food absorbed are transported through the bloods to the different parts of the body where they are used for the performing the various functions. The large intestine absorb most of remaining water and the small amount of salt from the undigested food. Grass-eating animals such as the cow and goat are called the ruminants. They are the chew the food partially and they swallow it. Later, the partial digested food is returned to their mouth and the animals chew it thoroughly. Breathing involves the movement of air and the lungs inhale and the out of the lung, that is the exhale. The exchange of carbon dioxide and the oxygen occurs in the alveoli of the lung. The respiration use oxygen from the inhale air to break down the glucose into the carbon dioxide and water. The process by which nutrients are converted into a usable energy is called the respiration. The circulatory system transports nutrients and oxygen to all the parts of the body, including the heart, the pumps, the blood through the blood vessels, delivering oxygen to the and nutrients to the while also removing the waste from the body. The breathing is a physical process while the respiration is a chemical process. The different animals have a different breathing mechanisms adapted to their habitat. So thank you friends. In next video we are dealing with exercise of this chapter.